She was a bright young student with a future full of promise. But by the time her story ended, her body was broken, her mind consumed, and her name had become synonymous with one of the most controversial exorcisms in modern history. This is the true and chilling case of Anneliese Michel, a young woman many believe was possessed by demons, and whose tragic death would shake the world. Anneliese Michel was born on September 21st, 1952, in Liebelfing, Bavaria, West Germany. Raised in a devout Roman Catholic family, she was quiet, studious, and deeply religious. Her upbringing was traditional, her family close-knit. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. In her teenage years, Anneliese began experiencing sudden blackouts. At just 16, she had her first severe convulsion. Doctors diagnosed her with temporal lobe epilepsy, a condition that can cause hallucinations, a feeling of presence, and extreme emotions. She was prescribed anticonvulsants and later powerful psychiatric drugs, but the symptoms didn't go away. In fact, they got worse. Over the next few years, Anneliese's behavior became more disturbing. She claimed to see demonic faces. She said she heard voices damning her to hell. Religious objects terrified her. Crosses, Bibles, even holy water would cause her to recoil in pain. She believed she was cursed. Her parents, confused and desperate, turned to their faith. They began to suspect that something more than mental illness was at work, something evil. By 1973, Anneliese had begun to reject all forms of religious symbolism. She destroyed crosses, refused to enter churches, and reportedly crawled under a table for hours, barking like a dog. Despite continued medical treatment, nothing worked. Doctors increased her medications, but her condition only worsened. Her family, now deeply convinced she was possessed, sought help from the church. But the Catholic Church is extremely cautious about approving exorcisms. For years, their requests were denied. Then in 1975, Father Arnold Renz and Father Ernst Alt, both experienced priests, witnessed her condition firsthand. They observed what they described as unnatural strength, knowledge of hidden things, and a violent aversion to sacred rites. They made a case to the bishop, and finally, permission was granted. A formal exorcism under the ancient Ritual Romanum would begin. It was sanctioned by the church, and it would go on for 10 months. Starting in September 1975, Anneliese underwent 67 exorcism sessions over 10 months. Each lasted up to 4 hours. During these rituals, she screamed, growled, and spoke in deep, guttural voices. She claimed to be possessed by not one, but 6 demons: Lucifer, Cain, Judas Iscariot, Nero, Hitler, and a disgraced priest named Fleischmann. She spoke of hellish visions and described horrific scenes of torment and fire. Her voice changed. Her mannerisms changed. She exhibited strength far beyond her small frame. On some recordings, she is heard speaking in Latin, though she had never studied the language. Father Renz and Father Alt kept detailed notes and audio tapes. These tapes remain controversial to this day, but the toll on her body was immense. As the sessions continued, Anneliese's physical health deteriorated. She stopped eating, believing fasting would cleanse her soul. Her weight dropped drastically. Her knees were shattered from repeated genuflections, dropping to her knees in prayer over 600 times a day. She became emaciated, bruised, and battered. Her parents and the priests, convinced that the demons were resisting, continued the sessions. But by mid-1976, it was clear Anneliese was dying. In her final recordings, she begs for mercy. She says the demons will soon leave, and that her death will help save other souls. On July 1st, 1976, Anneliese Michel died in her home. She was 23 years old. The cause, malnutrition and dehydration. Her death sent shockwaves through Germany. An investigation was launched. And soon, both her parents and the 2 priests were charged with negligent homicide. The trial began in 1978 and became an international media sensation. The prosecution argued that Anneliese was mentally ill and that the exorcisms had worsened her condition. Medical experts stated that proper psychiatric care and feeding could have saved her. But the defense held firm. They presented the tapes, the eyewitness accounts, and claimed Anneliese was truly possessed. Her mother testified that Anneliese had predicted her own death and accepted it as God's will. The court ruled that while Anneliese was likely suffering from epileptic psychosis, the priests and parents genuinely believed they were helping her. Still, all four were found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 6 months in prison, later suspended. Anneliese Michel's story has inspired books, documentaries, and films, including the 2005 horror movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Her case remains one of the most debated in religious and psychiatric history. Was she a victim of religious hysteria, a tragic case of untreated mental illness, or was she truly possessed? Even decades later, her gravesite in Klingenberg becomes a site of pilgrimage. Some visitors claim to feel an eerie presence. Others say they've heard whispering voices on the wind. The tapes, chilling and raw, continue to stir fear and belief. The story of Anneliese Michel lives on, frightening, controversial, and heartbreaking. Whether you believe she was mentally ill or possessed, one thing is certain: she suffered. And her suffering continues to raise haunting questions. Was she abandoned by science or tormented by spirits? We may never know the full truth. Thank you for watching. If this story gave you chills, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more real-life horrors and unsolved mysteries. And tell us in the comments, do you believe in possession?